Hello to you, and welcome back to my channel, How to Drum and Bass, where you're going to learn how to do really cool drum and bass stuff, and where it is my mission to break down what the top producers are doing right now and to teach it to you so that you can also start making some pretty awesome stuff. And today we're going to talk about a pretty darn cool song that just got released. I'm talking about Selecta by Chase and Status. Now, I gotta say, when popular producers reuse an old sample, it's kind of 50-50. Sometimes it's fire, sometimes it's but they killed it. And Selecta is an absolute classic. And as a matter of fact, I asked you guys on Reddit what you want me to remake in my next video, and the answer very unequivocally was Selecta by Chase and Status. So there is a full song reproduction incoming, and it's gonna be really good. It goes super in depth. I'm gonna do the whole intro all the way until the drop. So much knowledge in there, so much really cool tricks. There's gonna be a lot to learn. So if you want to stick around for that, subscribe to that. But that is not this video. In this video, I just quickly want to go over that really heavy, disgusting brass horn element that they've got in the drop and a little bit before the drop, because it's quite interesting, and I think there's a lot to learn from it. So, as always, you can download everything that we're creating here in the video as a preset. I will include a link down below in the description. And also, if you like my teaching style, make sure, first of all, to hit that subscribe button, but second of all, to check out the other link in the description, which talks about my start to finish online course that's coming out very, very soon. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I want to get right into it, but check it out. All right, so we are in Ableton right now, and this is what we've created. I'll just solo it. All right, and in context with the rest of the song, it sounds like this. All right, so let's see what we've actually done here. Immediately, you will notice that I have a whole group going on here. Let's solo it once again. And the reason for that is because we're dealing with a very heavy element, a very bass-heavy element that also has some top end. And what you'd be inclined to do is to sort of make a brass or like a horn kind of sound, and then use FM from B or like, you know, some equalizing to get those higher frequencies out. But you can get stuck in that without really reaching the desired end result, because for the very simple reason that bass patch is missing that good high frequency content. So if we listen to the original, right? It's down low, it's got going on, but it's also got sort of higher octave notes. So what I've done is I've separated those two things. So what you can see here, this MIDI is playing all the notes, which, by the way, if you want to copy them, this is it. And then the other two MIDIs, as you can see, this one's called the bass browse, this is called the mid, and this is called the top. They just go at a higher octave at a slightly different patch that in Serum as well. And they only play the top two notes. So here you see we got B4 and C5. That's all they're playing, just because I only want those extra high harmonic. And what you'll notice is if we only play the bass, it sounds like this. With them together, it sounds like this. So that's way more effective. All right, so let's dive into the Serum patch here. Let's see what we've done. So actually, for the heavy bass, I started out with a very cool preset from these guys called Mono Sounds, which, by the way, is on sale right now, and it's super cool. It's quite hard to make brass in Serum, or good brass. There's lots of brass out there, but good brass in Serum, and they've really just hit the nail on the head. They've got, I think there's like 20 presets in it, and all of them are absolutely top notch. First of all, I would recommend go and check that out, because brass and horns and that kind of sounds is very, very popular in drum bass nowadays, especially in that sort of headaches and Chase Status and boo kind of stuff. So it's something that you might need later. But let's go back, because I did change a few things. So what we can see here, right, is there's two custom wavetables here, and I will put these wavetables in the preset download in the link in the description. But as you can see, they're basically just kind of sort of squiggly, but not too messed up lines. So essentially, they're almost like a monster wave, but then not so squiggle tied together, but like sort of pulled more outward. It's 2 times the same one. And what they do is they evolve over time. So you can see here that there's a whole bunch of LFOs going on over here that are modulating a few of these parameters. And as you can see, this one is modulating the wavetable position of both. So it evolves over time. All right, so more things to understand how this patch was made. We got a big MG low filter sweeping on the entirety of the sound. And also some of these things are modulated. So we can see here that we have this shape here that sort of acts like an envelope that is also modulating these filters. And all that does is just cause the frequencies of the horn to move over time as they would when coming out of a normal horn because of the vibrations of the air that are going fast and then go slow. And to really sort of get that elongated sound, you kind of want to use this bar here. Because if you use anything shorter, then it sounds quite short and stabby. But we want those longer sort of ceremonial kind of brass sounds. Then another thing that really adds to the body of this is we want it to sound wide. Got to have sort of an epic feel. So that's why we're going to add 5 unison. You could probably add more. You probably couldn't add less than 5. We're doing that because we want it to sound a little bit detuned and we want it to sound as wide as a real brass instrument. Next thing you can see is there's a macro here called morph that's just regulating the modulation of FM from B and bend. Currently, I'm actually not employing that. I think the sound sounds okay without it, but if you're wondering what that was, that's what it is. You can also see here that this L2 is related to the coarse pitch. Don't have to worry about that. We're also not using that in this patch. It's just an artifact from trying stuff out. What is important is that we do this key tracking option so that the filter changes with the different notes that are played. Then we also have a sub on a saw wave, the level of which is being modulated by this envelope, which is shaped like this. And we have some noise that is on one-shot mode and also changes with the pitch of the key that the level of is also modulated by this envelope right here. And this envelope also modulates a number of other things. It modulates the FM from B a bit, and it modulates the level of both oscillator A and oscillator B. And again, all these modulations are necessary because the original sound of a horn changes a lot over time. It's just the nature of the instrument that we're trying to do here. By the way, this is a pretty difficult patch. It would be really great for your learning to try and recreate something like this. But if you feel like, I just want to have the sound, either go to the link down below, but better, go to Mono Sounds and buy some of these presets because they are amazing. Then last but not least, we want to get some glide in between the notes. We put the portamento on 30 milliseconds or something, and we put it on always, so that it always does the glide even when the notes don't overlap. In terms of the effects, we've got a hard clip distortion that is pre-filtered to take out some of these highs, with the mix all the way up, a level just in the middle, and the drive at 47%, but being modulated by this LFO 1 again. And modulating that drive with this sort of envelope LFO also makes it so that it gets more distorted towards the end, which is kind of what you hear when you're blowing a real brass instrument too. Then we've got a compressor on there with these settings. We got hyper to make the sound even wider at about 20%, and also dimension at 33%. These are just going to help make the sound as epic and majestic and as full as possible. And then, of course, we have some reverb on this baby and some delay just because we want to fill up everything that happens after the horn. That the sustain of a horn is naturally quite long, so that's what we want here as well, with a little bit of feedback, about 40%. And then last but not least, we've got a high filter just to take out some of those extra highs that we don't really want because it's going to sound distorted but way too crunchy on the top end. And also, we're going to add some drive to sort of make it a little bit more fat and also the fat knob. Right, and then some final touches in post-processing. You can see here that I got 3 pitches and a chord. And you might wonder, what the hell is going on with that? Well, actually, these pitches are just sort of like a shortcut that I could definitely recommend to work a little bit faster. When you're trying to figure out the right notes to get, instead of having to click this and go back into it and sort of select all and command up so that it goes up an octave, actually you can just put a bunch of these pitches here and you can turn them on and off and just immediately sort sort of see immediately what the effect is of that. So that's a little tip for you there. And then this chord is because with a lot of lead sounds, there's a very good probability that they will have a perfect fifth added to them. And so that's just also something that I wanted to check. In this case, we didn't need it, but for example, the guitar that plays earlier in the song, which we'll cover in my full drop tutorial, that has sevenths in it to make it sound more grungy. Right, and then the rest is really simple. We just cut out some of the ultra lows, so anything from 30 hertz, the stuff that just kind of makes it messy. And then we've boosted the rest of the subby lows just to make it get that sort of roaring sound. All right, so that was the bass layer. Now we've got these two top ones, and they have quite similar post-processing, as you can see here, except that we're taking out the lows here and accentuating some of these higher mids here. And they're just playing these top two notes. And we've got two. We've got a mid note here, and we've got a top note here. And what you can see is for the top note, the reason they're separated is because I wanted to cut out a lot more of these frequencies to give this mid brass some space. So each one of these wants their own space. So we got to cut frequencies to allow for that space. Now the mid brass is, once again, actually this is just stock preset from Mono Sounds, which also sounds amazing. It's called the EDM Stack, and it really sounds exactly like what you hear on EDM festivals all the time. This one's a little simpler, but goes along many of the same routes. It uses a stock wavetable, so the crush wub and the bottle blow. Again, the envelope is mapped to the level of everything. The sub is exactly the same. The noise is exactly the same. Everything is on 5 unison as well. There's a filter, except now it's an MG6 filter, not an MG12, to make it a little bit less harsh, because this allows for more high frequencies in this sound, which is what we want. And then the only things that are really notably different is that these are put down by -2 and -1 octave, and that this coarse pitch change here is modulated with a very quick LFO here. Then we've got this LFO number 3, adding some FM from B in a similar attempt to what was happening with the distortion. FM is also a type of distortion, and we want that to occur over time for that classical horn sound. And then the last thing, that LFO 1 here is added to the master tuning, just to give an extra bit of movement to the sound. And actually, all of the effects are pretty much exactly the same, except that there's a tube distortion, and yeah, the rest is pretty much the same. We took out the lows, and we accentuated around 2K. The top brass is actually exactly the same patch, but just with more of the lows cut out and a glue compressor added to add some extra volume, which sounds by itself like this. So really just to fill up that higher frequency spectrum. And then on the group, so the processing that's together, I added some overdrive on the lows here, which really makes a difference. So without it, it sounds like, and with it, so that gives much more of that grunge to it, which is nice. Overdrive is amazing. If you are not using it, you should use it, because it's just awesome. And then, yeah, for those higher frequencies, I did want to do a shelf EQ. And of course, next to some automations, which you can ignore, auto filter and some Duck Buddy for the actual the rest of the song to make it fit in. There is an EOS 2, which is a great reverb that I love. You can use any reverb with 20% mix on there. And that's it. So in context, it sounds like this. Pretty cool. All right, so that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And make sure that if you found this cool, stick around for the entire track remake, because as you can see, we are almost there. I've got the whole thing down until the drop, and we're going to be doing so much super interesting stuff. There's a lot of cool techniques in here that I didn't really realize before, that I've learned now from emulating Chase and Status, and that I want to share with you. So hit that subscribe button, tell your friends, and stick around for somewhere around next week when this is coming to my YouTube channel. All right, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.